Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and Prez, in this episode 252. I am joined, as always, on a Wednesday night, late Wednesday night pod recording after a Knicks victory. The Knicks defeat the Hawks by some big score, 113-89. Yeah, 113-89. That sounds about right. Knicks won 113-89. Fun game. And to recap that and all of the things that have happened with the Knicks this week, because God knows, the Lord knows that no matter how boring the Knicks might seem, it is never boring to talk about them. But I am joined, as always, by my co-host Prez. That is at Presidente on Twitter. Prez, how are you doing?
Good. Normally I'm pretty even keeled. This is the first game I've watched live in some time though, and I add on top of that, the Hawks are like the
Yeah,
one
why did you want
team
to
that
win
I
this game
actually
so bad?
I don't know. The Hawks are like the one team I have true hatred for, and it's only gotten like worse with Dejounte Murray on the team. I don't even know why. It's not really rational.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't say I know how you feel because I love so many teams in the NBA. Just a
Like
lover
Mark
of the game.
Schindler.
uh, no, I'm not Mark Schindler. But before we get started, I'd make a few announcements. The first being that the Strickland has an Instagram. That is right. We are on Instagram. We are live on there. We are posting content. Give us a follow. Check out all of the new stuff that we are posting on there. That is at thestrict.land on Instagram. Check that out. We also have a YouTube where you can potentially, maybe you are watching this podcast right there, but there's many other things on there. We have the rundown that is hosted by Sam Gideon. That's at FBL_Sam and Tyrese London, the infamous Tyrese London. That's at London Siri on Twitter. Check them out. They go live after every single game. They're probably recording. They're not recording. They're actually hosting a live stream right now as we are recording this pod. So definitely check out all the stuff that they post on there as well. We also have some nice Dallas Palace of analysis when he's not busy fighting the good fight, the union fight. He posts some X's and O's breakdowns on there, and whenever the Holy Ghost catches Prez, he might grace you with some X's and O's knowledge on there as well. The final announcement I have to make, the Strickland has Patreon. You can subscribe to it. There are a number of tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to this pod right here that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to the mailbag that comes out every other week that is hosted by Andrew Steele, a.k.a. Doug, a.k.a. the Doug Bag. You also get access to the Strickland Discord where the conversation never stops. Certainly did not stop at any point in the last 2 days because God knows that Cam Reddish getting benched is apparently a franchise-altering move. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Stricken Roll, where I rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to, much more importantly, wonderful weekly articles by Jack Huntley and Matthew Miranda, two of the best in the business. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and $100 tier. Those come with a variety of additional benefits like listening in on pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially co-hosting a podcast alongside yours. Truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. None of this would be possible without you. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's talk about the game first. I don't want to talk about miserable Cam Reddish stuff first. Let's talk about the game. The game was fun. I'm gonna be an asshole, and I didn't love the first half that much because I thought it was just a lot of like, oh, Randall's on fire, like that was it. The Knicks still did not look like they had any idea of how to play against the zone. That's still a problem for them, and it was still a problem for them in the second half. To be honest, they just got a lot more stops. They got more turnovers. They got out in transition a bit more, broke down the defense a little bit better. Randall was on fire, so that helped a lot. But the defense again looked a lot better. And I'll tell you this, and I don't care. I know that Randall had an awesome game. I know RJ had an okay looking offensive box score. I thought they were both really big problems again on defense. But here's the saving grace. It turns out when you play your three best perimeter defenders more often, your defense is better. And when Mitch is right, your defense and your defensive rebounding is better. And guess
Uh,
what? Guess what? That might be enough to be a good defense. And I know the Hawks didn't have DeJounte Murray. I know they didn't have a bunch of guys. I know that you can tell
they
me all
didn't
kinds
have
of
your
things.
favorite player, John Collins.
Yeah, just a real fucking killer there. Um, but but like, but we've seen this team, get blown out, or not blown out necessarily, but just give up points, layup line to many teams.
So
Didn't
it's
happen today. And
the
and just the last thing I'll say before
mm,
get your thoughts. I thought we're gonna have to have some serious questions. Not serious. We're gonna have a serious conversation about Quentin Grimes because I will say this: you watch. Look, I think RJ is playing better than he has recently offensively. I still think that there's rough
he's got
decision
a ways
making.
to go, but he's getting
Yeah,
better. He's
it's
getting
getting better.
better.
There's still some rough decision making patches. He doesn't have that burst, man. He doesn't have that burst. He doesn't
Not at this
finish,
weight.
and he doesn't explode through contact. He doesn't challenge guys at the rim and finish in the same way that Grimes does. Now, Grimes obviously is not creating as much from a standstill, from be a pick and roll ball handler, all kinds of things. But that time might be coming soon, and it might
I
need to
mean,
be
we
coming sooner than we think.
we know he's got we've said it ad nauseum since he was drafted, but like he played point guard most of his life, and that's not gone. And that's not to say you want him fucking playing point guard, but like it's clear
Point Grimes.
it's yeah, there's clearly a space for secondary creation for him and Deuce, and we've seen that for both of them. Like they can, and when you have guys like Julius and Brunson, who are occasionally content to spot up, and just chill for a bit and put them up, that lets these guys do some of that passing, which is really nice. The other thing I really wanted to highlight, when I was randomly just like spamming Twitter with Dallas Knicks clips the other day, I tweeted about how bad Randall's rebounding has been, particularly his boxing out. And one
You
of
don't
the
like his
things,
weak side boxing out. You
I
know.
don't like any of his boxing out, and his rebounding is, what separate from boxing out, like going up for the rebound, he's actually great at it. And that's why he can be awful at boxing out and still end up with like 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game.
Or
And
17.
well, today, it's not a coincidence that today he has 17, because today he was doing boxing out and making an effort to go hit the glass. And you could tell, we know how it goes with Randall, right? Like he gets up for certain matchups. He wants to kill the Hawks. He has history with them. And whenever he gets it going, sometimes that can flow negatively into his game. Other times that can flow positively into his game. I did think that today, as part of him getting it going, you kind of saw him mixing it up on the glass a lot more. I just wasn't used to how physical he was. And I think part of that was because the whole team was physical. And I think that really starts from the three guys we've been talking about all week, right? IQ, Grimes, and Deuce. They're not only good defenders because of finesse and quick hands and wingspan, but they're also like, they're not afraid to give you a bump. Like Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride are so quick that they don't have to give Trae Young room. They get up in his face and they're confident that if he gets by them, they can get back into the play. And that's a special form of defense that requires you to be comfortable being physical and also to be really fast. And they also both hit the glass. And IQ, we know, is an exceptional rebounder as well. And he's definitely not shy. In fact, I would say IQ fucking mixes it up too much these days on offense. Sometimes I'm just like, bro, shoot the three.
Yeah,
And
he's doing that. He did that a lot in the second half today.
yeah,
Especially he just needs to shoot more. I think he'll get there because it's not like the thing is
yeah,
it's not that he's not shooting. Like it's not that he's trying. It's not that he's not trying to not shoot the ball. He's just
he's just
trying to
trying to
take different.
drive
Yeah, and I
a
think he's
lot.
like, yeah, he's trying to like get in there and look. I think this is partially like a thing that a very Tibbs influence thing.
It is. It
Um,
is. That's their thing this year, is like get to the paint, right? Like
I mean
it's Brunson,
that's
it's
yeah
RJ,
that's
it's Randall, it's Q, IQ.
yeah that's it's been it's been a Tibbs thing forever. But yeah, it's just like Yeah, he'll get there. He's just got to find a better balance. But like, I mean,
It's
I don't know.
the
Go ahead.
physicality was just like it was just very striking. I watched the Cavs game. I didn't watch it live. I watched it before this game, and that game too, and this game even more so. Like it's just striking how physical it is, and it becomes contagious. Like you can literally have a lineup with those three guys, Julius and Mitch, and all five of them are capable of like just battering people, or in the case of the guards, like not battering people, but just being like up your ass, just like super annoying in your shirt. And even RJ, for all his fucking like when he's not getting blown by or whatever, like he's still a big dude. And obviously on offense, being physical isn't his problem. His problem is fucking making the right decisions. And
Yeah, like maybe don't take a fadeaway over Onyeka Okongwu.
it's so frustrating. I tweeted it during the game, but like it's actually a minor miracle to me that he draws the defensive attention he does. Like because his if I was another team, and it's early in the season, whatever, but and maybe teams will begin not worrying so much, but like I would just switch on RJ and like play him one on one and not worry about help defense and not worry about double teams, because he's not like maybe he'll score on you, but like you said earlier, he's not going to power through mismatches. Really, he's not going to power over mismatches. If you can get a hand on the ball, you might cause him to turn it over or fumble. He's not passing, so until he does that, like what do you lose as a defense by single covering him, even if he's going to drive a lot, which is his thing. And it's so crazy to me. He could literally lead the team in assists without even being the primary ball handler, just because of his sheer volume of drives. And for some reason, like it's still it he doesn't draw doubles, but like you can still just kind of like pay attention, and there's always, and it's just like, dude, pass the fucking ball. Anyway, like my back to the other guys. It's just I really think this rotation is going to be a problem for a lot of teams that we play. I think what you said gives them a about how like Julius can be a meh to shit defender and still be fine because the other four guys are going to be really good. And if RJ's on, you still have three guys who are good probably in a lot of these configurations. So like is coming back a little bit. Maybe not RJ's, but Grimes obviously starting to shoot. Julius is, beginning to settle into that 35% ish range. And I also think it's really important that we're seeing the volume get to where it has to be. We're still a little bit
I'm gonna
low.
need
That's where I
Brunson to
think,
drive and kick a little bit better. I'm gonna need like he has like these moments where
yeah,
he's
he had some this was his worst driving kick game by far. He had some wide open Grimes, like in the middle of
yeah.
Grimes' flaming hot streak, and he would like dribble extra and then pass it to Grimes. It was very
The
Julius-ish.
only
And
guy that
normally
forces it,
it was pretty
the only
rough
guy
from
that
him.
yeah, the only guy that forces it to hot shooters is Quickly. Like to the point where you're like when he dropped it off to Randall 35 feet out, I was like, okay, like relax a little bit, like calm down for a second. But I
True
like
point
the I
guard quickly entered the
yeah,
chat.
but right, but it's like I like the like okay, like he sees the guy's hot, just get him the ball, right? But like Brunson, I don't know what the hell was going on. He's had honestly, I'll be honest, like it ain't just this. Like he's had a few games recently where I'm like that Dallas game on Saturday. He had like 3 passes to Mitch that were ended up being turnovers. And I'm like, you're fucking wide open, 10 feet out. Shoot the fucking ball. Like enough with this. Like he's going through one. I mean, look, everybody has phases, right? With like decision making, but he's definitely having like a bad decision making phase right now where he's like, I feel like he's like, oh, I got to pass. I'm like, shut up, dude. You're a fucking bucket. Get your points. And then when guys are just wide open, give him the ball. This isn't like, especially him because he is drawing attention like that. Like
Yeah,
he's just got to make basic reads. And I can understand like, okay, RJ's slumping like he's not even she's not shooting that well from three, right? Okay, I can understand maybe you're hesitant to give him the ball, but I never care what Grimes is shooting from three ever. I don't care because
yeah,
you just
yeah.
have
If
to give
he's
him the ball.
open, give him the fucking ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
that simple.
I'm with you. And like even the guys in the tier below him, like IQ, OB, even Randall, like this team if they can just dial up the passing a little bit and just get that contagious, then I mean their offense is already decent because they just spam the paint so much, and the free throws are coming around for a lot of the guys who didn't get whistles earlier in the year, and that that can carry an ugly defense to a top 15 efficiency by itself. But like if they can dial up the 3-point rate and also the accuracy, but like I don't even like this is the thing. Like this is why sometimes I don't. One thing I noticed today about Randall is like he still had his spells of like over dribbling, but I I felt like his attacking was a little bit quicker, and that's one of the things I like when he gets hot from three. It sounds kind of stupid, but like we need to have more threes come from somewhere, and unfortunately, we know they're not really going to come from Brunson. Obviously, they're not going to come from Mitch, so it falls on the other guys. RJ actually takes a decent amount of threes; he just can't hit them. So like rather than like just dribbling the ball off his dick or whatever, like sure, put him up. Like you have fucking guys like Spencer Dinwiddie who have been part of really good offenses who just fucking their role is just drive and then chuck. And it ain't always pretty. And some of the times you're like, could we have worked it for a better shot? But like there's a place for that in today's offense until we fucking move the 3-point line back a couple feet. So I didn't mind him doing that. And you could see him like when Grimes got hot, you could also see him kind of looking for Grimes, but he's not good at it. But the Hawks defense is so bad that like they would
Yeah,
do just like horrible double teams and
their
and he
defense
would just
fucking
like
sucks.
kind of
And
muscle his way through. And dude,
yeah,
their whole bench, first of all, like I know they were missing guys, but like it was like what was
can we be
that
real?
game that they
They're
play
missing
on
who?
TNT, like
Yeah,
who he play or whatever, who he
they
play
were
for?
missing
I was
like
like,
they were missing who? John Collins,
and
and
Murray,
they were
that's the only players
missing
of note.
yeah, like
They have
okay,
horrible depth. Like AJ Griffin is a godsend for them, and he's fucking 18 years old or 19 years old because the rest of their bench is apparently Jarrett Culver, RIP, that draft decision by Prez, Justin Holiday, Nick Legend. There were some white dudes. I didn't even know who they was.
Prechie, was that the name?
I legit don't know who. I don't know. I mean, they have Okongwu, of course, but he's kind of just stuck because of Capella. Um, Jalen Johnson, I guess. So I don't know. It's weird. They should trade for Evan Fournier. That's my opinion.
uh, it's no, it's funny because they just like yeah, I don't know. It's
I
weird.
haven't really been keeping up with them. Like, are they?
They're a
I
game
know
ahead
they're
of
like
us.
what, like sixth or something. Oh, that's
They're a
it.
game
Okay,
ahead of
like I
us.
don't know.
Yeah.
Is their offense still like elite like it was last year?
I think it's been really good, but like it's been good, but it's not as good, and their offense has been
Hmm.
or their defense has been better, but it's not great. So they're in the
Yeah.
weird fit place. It's kind of we'll talk about Reddish, but it's funny like they gave up Reddish. Obviously, didn't get much for him. I guess they did use that pick as part of a package for Dejounte Murray, but like they didn't get much for him. And then they obviously traded Herter, which
The
I don't
Hawks
know.
right now are 21st in offensive efficiency, offensive
Yeah,
rating per NBA.com. So they've
yeah,
had a rough stretch.
yeah. It's not great. I don't know what's. I get. I don't even want to take a victory lap because I just thought it was obvious that like I get that you need another ball handler because you can't have trade literally just be your only ball handler. But it was always hard for me to be like, people are like, oh, DeJounte Murray shooting 34% on catch and shoot threes. I'm like, watch this guy shoot catch and shoot threes, dude. Every single team is like, he's spotting up, great, wonderful. We are going to help off him constantly. And then you watch Trae Young shoot catch and shoot threes. I don't care what his percentage is. He doesn't want to take those shots. He's not comfortable taking those shots. He's not even like a threat really taking those shots. And he's not like a dynamic attack the closeout type of guy,
He's
right?
more useful for their offense without the ball as a spacer than he is as an actual shot maker from off
Right.
the ball.
So I don't know. I didn't really like that sequence of moves for them. We'll see how it works out. But
It's
to
pretty
bring up,
much good for like staggering, but I feel like that's the main.
they don't
I
even
feel like
stagger that much.
that's the other thing. Like the main benefit of having Murray is you can have one of them with your shitty bench, but like you still have a shitty bench. Like that doesn't change that fact.
Yeah, and I mean, like to that point, you know, they just don't stagger much. Like I'm looking at their numbers for the entire year. They played 559 minutes together. 320. Then Dejounte's played 327 without Trey Young. Trey Young's played 222 without Dejounte. I don't know. I mean, I guess they stagger a decent amount, but it's still like you're still overlapping these guys, and I mean, it makes sense. You have to play them together a lot.
Right.
But like they're minus 4.5 in Dejounte no Trey Young minutes, 327 of those. They're minus 7.1 in Trey Young no Dejounte minutes. They are plus 3.9 probably actually in 559 minutes with both on the floor, and they've only played 54 minutes all year without either of them on the floor. So that sample doesn't even matter, but they are plus 21.8 in those minutes. Um,
Mm.
I don't know if that includes today, but not great, Bob. Not great, Bob. I don't know. They're a weird team.
They are.
Whatever the Knicks issues are, and the Knicks have plenty of issues, which we'll talk about. Um, like this is like people are like, oh, the Knicks are stuck. The Knicks are stuck. The Knicks are in the middle. They're in purgatory. They're in this. They're in that. And then it's like, I kind of think the Hawks are in purgatory. Like they blew their load for Dejounte Murray.
Yeah, we're not in purgatory. The Hawks and the Bulls are in purgatory.
Yeah, I mean, the Bulls are definitely in purgatory. The Hawks are purgatory of like a weird one where it's like, look, Trey's a really weird player to discuss, but like you can convince me he's definitely like you could convince me he's good enough to
Sure.
be a championship engine. Okay, offensively
Yeah.
anyway, you can convince me of that. I don't know if I wholly believe it, but like I think there's a pretty legitimate argument for it. Um, but like was Dejounte the right guy for him? I don't really understand like what they were going for. I mean, I know what they were
It's
going for. I never got
it's
it.
really
I thought it was
easy to
stupid.
like to say, like we've heard it so many times with the Donovan Mitchell trade, right? Like, oh, if this isn't the right time or the right price, then what is the right? Like, no, there's actually something to be said for picking your spots because otherwise that's how you end up like the Bulls or the Hawks. And
It's how you end up like
yeah,
the
those
Knicks were
guys
with
aren't as good
Melo.
as Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, exactly. Like shit. Like, and it's not to say that it's we don't have to go down this route, but like it's not to say that it's impossible to build around these very particular sets of stars that have, you know, maybe they're because they're not like MVP candidates, they have certain limitations in certain ways, but it's harder, right? Like it's like we saw with Melo, like you need very specific players around Melo, just like you need very specific players around Amari, or you need very specific players around Trey. Like these aren't like well-rounded superstars, right? Like that's the best way I can put it. And there's a reason, right? There's only a few of those really well-rounded superstars who can just level like other teams entirely, no matter what. But I mean, whatever. Like enough about the Hawks. Like they're just fucking weird. I don't buy them. I never buy them. They still always kind of hang around in the standing. So maybe they'll do that this year. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just super fucking happy this that the Knicks defense is coming together, not because of it's because of the players, and like you have a lot of people who are like, oh, if only we had better players to execute Tibbs' scheme, blah blah blah. That's not the point. Like you can have good defenders and still not achieve your full defensive potential, and you can have good defenders in a scheme that doesn't maximize their strength still be a good defense. Those are two nuanced statements that are gonna fucking blow the mind of half of Nick's Twitter, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Um,
also like the the point of like, oh well, guys have to execute the scheme. Okay, you want guys to execute the scheme? Then fucking play the guys that execute the scheme the best. Do
yeah,
that.
that too.
Like it's bullshit. You can't have it every way. Oh well, guys have to execute the scheme. Okay, then play the fucking guys that can execute it. Otherwise, you know what you got to do as a coach. If you don't want to do that, then you got to fucking adjust your scheme for the guys that you are playing a lot. But guess
Yeah,
what? Tibbs gets spent. He gets a reward here because he's playing now. The three best perimeter guys, plenty of minutes, who are the best at executing his defensive scheme. And if he does that, this team's defense will be better. As it will be better if Mitchell Robinson stays healthy. Mitchell Robinson was awesome tonight. I thought he was like an unheralded player of the game type of performance today. I thought he was dominant. I thought he pretty much look. I know Clint Capella had 6 offensive rebounds. I'm not going to say he had no impact on the game, but I would say plenty of those were due to Mitch being out of position because he was tracking Trey Young all around. Mitch had 8 points, 10 rebounds, 9 of them offensive rebounds, by the way. He even had 2 assists. Point Mitch out here. No, he's playing really well right now.
That's what happens when you have someone like Grimes. Is you could just grab the offensive rebound and be like, "Where is Grimes?" and just fucking throw a like soccer throw into him, and he'll make it half the time.
Yeah, and I just think aside from the Dallas game that everybody sucked in, I thought Mitch was really bad in that game, but everybody sucked in that game, so whatever. I thought he's been playing really well since that Memphis game.
Yeah, he's in a groove.
He's playing really well. He's playing under control. He's not committing stupid fouls. I'm not ready to say his screening is good because it's not.
It's
But
definitely better.
he is screening.
I be noticing that shit. I noticed that shit in the first quarter of the Cleveland game, and then in this game, like literally, I was just minding my own business on my laptop, and I was like, "Oh shit!" My wife was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." It was just because Mitchell Robinson was hitting people.
Yeah. No, he is. He's at least making contact, and that's all you can ask for, really. I mean, you can ask for more, but that's all we really want. It's just like, yeah, dude, just fucking hit a guy every now and then. It'll be great.
Yeah. How many
But
minutes did my son play today?
I don't know who
Deuce
that
play?
is because you got like 15.
That's fair. That's a fair
Deuce.
critique. Harsh but fair.
Deuce played 27 minutes tonight. He was a plus 19. He actually played a couple more minutes than quickly. This is a weird game minutes wise because the fourth quarter was just stupid. I have no idea why Brunson came back in. I have no idea why Randall came back in. I have no idea why Mitchell Robinson came back in. Thought all of that was
That's just Tibbs like
dumb.
relapsing. He's just like an addict. He's just like, what? All right, fuck it. Like whatever's happened, like I'm just gonna do
Yeah,
it. But Deuce, like at the like we talk about the defense, it's fine. We know about the defense, it's fucking great. Like the connective passing, him and Grimes and IQ, they're just so clearly the best read and react passers, along with Toppin and iHeart. They're up there as well, but they don't have the ball as much, and it really just changes the dynamic of the offense. And Deuce does it differently than Grimes. Grimes, like you were saying earlier, his whole MO is like catch, shoot, or catch, explode, and he's gonna make some like turbo engine like miracle bounce pass angle that you didn't know or whatever, or drop off. And Deuce, it's more like traditional connector passing, like, oh, he's gonna run a second side pick and roll, or he's just gonna probe to the free throw line and then do a driving kick, which like no Knicks do, right? Like
yeah.
very simple stuff. But again, like these are low hanging fruit. We didn't have anybody who does that shit. We don't have that many connectors outside of Obi, and Obi's minutes locked, as we've said a million times. So we don't get to take advantage of his, and it just makes everything flow so much better. And it also allows you to, one underrated thing of the connector passing to me is like the kind of managing egos part of it, because if you can get, especially someone who's very mercurial like Randall, or to a lesser extent RJ, just some easy threes or some easy dump offs, this easy points for the team. It's morale raisers. It's, you're getting your shots, right? Like they're easier shots to make, and everything doesn't have to fucking be self-created. Like I bet if we 30 games down the line could look up, I don't even know, I don't think you could do this on PvP, it's too granular, but like percentage of assisted 3-pointers with someone on the floor versus not on the floor, I suspect the biggest on off for Julius would be with Grimes, or maybe with Deuce if he continues to stick in the rotation. And it's just more fucking pleasant. Ugh. I mean, we're still not going to be a top 10 offense or anything, but damn, like we've been through some fucking mud.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think there's just a lot of benefits to it. And look, I guess we'll have to talk about this now. The Knicks did make the decision a couple days ago, whatever it was. I guess they made it officially. They announced it, or
They announced
Tibbs
it
announced
today.
it. Tibbs announced it on Tuesday, but we found out on Sunday, effectively, because that was the Cleveland game, that Cam Reddish is no longer part of the rotation, and neither is Derrick Rose. And Deuce McBride will step in for them. And there are a lot of people that lost their minds about this. I get it. I think it is reasonable and fine to prefer to want Cam in the rotation over Deuce. I also think
or to
that
want both of them, right? Like that's
yeah, I guess yeah. If you want both of them
it's a
too, that's
little
fine.
harder, but like
Yeah, if you
he
want
could
both of
do
them, that's
it.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. But like, I just really struggle to get that pissed about this, and I say that as somebody who has been pretty impressed with Cam this year. But like, if we're forget that they traded a first for him and they're not on the same page and organizational dysfunction, this and that. Forget all of that. Forget that the narrative stuff, and it's not narrative stuff. Forget about that piece of it, and that because that piece of it, like we'll talk about it, but like that piece of it is real, but it's not all of it, right? That forget that. If you're just talking about basketball, forget all that other shit. Just what do these guys bring to the table for the team? And how does that help us or how does that hurt us? And what is the cost benefit? If you're just doing that, again, what was the Knicks' biggest issue this season? If you name the three biggest issues for the team this year, right? It would be and I'm just saying these, no particular order: point of attack perimeter defense, shooting, and simply defensive rebounding would be the third. And I think honorable mention to, as you alluded to, just quick decision making passing.
Mm.
Let's just say those are the four biggest issues facing the team this year. If you look at those things, if you just look at them in a vacuum and you're comparing these guys, who gives me more, there is a completely reasonable argument to just be like, yeah, I'd rather have Deuce than Cam. And you can talk to
Yeah,
me
and
about
he's not
the
32 and giving you those things. He's
right.
22 and giving you those
He's
things.
younger than Cam. He's younger than Cam. He's got an extra year left on his rookie contract. Okay. Um, and forgetting that stuff, like it's completely reasonable. And you can talk to me all day about like, well, Cam is this archetype of player. He's this big wing, and we don't have a big wing. And I am 100% agree with that. We don't have that. And we do need to get that. And we do need to acquire that. And those are not easy to find. And but okay, yes. But like when you're talking about a big wing, right? You're broadly talking about like Cam is a big dude who plays wing. But when you say you want a big wing, what do you mean by that? What you mean by that is you want somebody who can credibly play the four. Now, if you're going to play the four, what do you need to do? Got a defensive rebound. Go look at the Cam Reddish lineups in Atlanta when he played the four. They're fucking awful.
He's like I think it's been weird to me, and maybe we're just understandably so happy that he showed some development, that we were, not being greedy and complaining about like, oh, he still doesn't pass or rebound. But like, I don't think people understand how bad of a non-passer and non-rebounder he is. His total rebound percentage is below 5. There's
Yeah,
a
it's awful.
non there's a non there's a reasonable argument that like you could put me in the court and I could do that. Like just by like hurting people. Like, bro, you're fucking 6'9" with the same standing reach as our third center. And the other thing I just, I'm happy you brought up like what do we mean by big wing is, he was playing the 2, so he wasn't playing a big wing position for us.
He's playing the
And
three.
he played the 2 and he played the 3, and he like it's one of those, and this is where you get mad at Thibs in the front office. It's like, if you want to have him, his biggest strength on defense to me is not just his point of attack defense, because you can actually get him off of a point of attack defender pretty easily, but it's the versatility if you switch, and we don't really take advantage of that, as we've said, not only with him, but with Julius and other guys. So like, if you want to be mad to me that we didn't really give him a fair shot to showcase all his skills, that to me is the annoying thing. Because if you're gonna be like, okay, Cam, just defend, some guard or some 6'6" guy, that's fine. But teams were picking up on like the fact that he's kind of slow and doesn't deal with screens very well. We saw it versus Memphis. I forget who we played before that, but we saw it versus them as well. and especially if you set the screens further out because he's pretty slow. So he doesn't give you. He's a weird player, and that's not to say he's like a bum or something. Like I think he's legitimately transformed himself into a rotation player if he continues to buy into this sort of role that he displayed on the Knicks. But like I've seen people today talking about he's a legit starting wing. No, the fuck he is not. What legit starting wing doesn't pass
Can I also
and
just say,
doesn't
like,
rebound?
also, like, there's just this, okay? And I'm gonna be honest. I would have preferred if Cam stayed in the rotation over Deuce to begin with, anyway. I think
Sure.
he had bought into a high enough degree that you should reward him for that. I would have liked to see him in that rotation without Rose. I
Yeah.
think, look, Deuce played like 27 minutes tonight. We know that Deuce isn't going to play 27 minutes every night, but like I would have liked to see him in a role where, yeah, he's not starting, but he is playing 22 to 25 minutes every night. I would like to see that. And I think it sucks that we're not going to see it. But that all being said, this whole starting wing thing is like, I've seen a lot of people suggest, like, oh, Grimes didn't earn his spot. He got given it because
What?
Cam was injured, and Cam was injured, and it's like
That's crazy.
let's go through it. Okay, Grimes is injured to start the year, right? He's injured to start the year, and so he's just out. So Cam, to his credit, outplays Fournier by a shit ton. By the way, Fournier was just a fucking
Yeah.
basket case. He outplayed him. He took that spot from him. Deserved it. Congratulations, kudos, wonderful job. Grimes comes back. He's healthy. Does Grimes get to play? No. No. Grimes is situational. Grimes needs to get his conditioning back. So Grimes isn't playing yet. And then Fournier is removed from the rotation, and Cam gets hurt. That's the big thing that happened. Cam got hurt on the West Coast trip. So now all of a sudden we go from situational Grimes, who isn't playing, getting his conditioning back, to, okay, here's 40 minutes, kid, go have it. And guess what? He played really fucking well in those minutes. And he took back the spot that was
Opportunity is a
he
fickle
yeah.
mistress.
And he took back the spot which was going to be his. It was going to be his. Cam took it, and then Grimes took it back. And I'm going to hypothesize here. This is a hypothesis. We know that Cam Reddish in Atlanta, he played a pretty decent amount of minutes, actually. If anybody wants to look, I'll pull up the numbers right now.
It was the wrong role, but yeah, it's not like he was nailed to the bench.
He played a pretty decent minutes. All right, this is what he played in Atlanta. First year, 26.7. Second year, 28.8 minutes per game. Third year, okay, 23.4. So he comes down his third year, but this is what he's played in New York. 14.3 his first year. We know that there was an entire situation where they just didn't play him for a while. And this year, 21.9. Okay. So we already know that, yes, he's being a good soldier, but this is a guy who wanted to get out of Atlanta in part to get more minutes, get a better role, get a more consistent role. Okay. Now, the Knicks maybe shouldn't have traded for him just knowing that, but they took a shot on the talent, whatever. Grimes comes back. Grimes takes that role. He is now the starter. You can talk to me about, well, we can stagger more and Thibs can stagger more and this and that thing and this thing. He wasn't happy in Atlanta. And I don't care what you want a coach to do. So this is me defending Thibs, by the way. I don't care what you want a coach to do. If you're going to be a bench wing, you are competing with other bench players for those in-between minutes that can go either to them or to a starter that's on any given night. So for those minutes, he's competing against Emmanuel Quickly, who is flat out a better basketball player than Cam Reddish is right now. You can talk to me about ceiling. You can talk
By
to
a
me about
lot.
a player.
They shouldn't. No,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
okay,
please.
but just let me finish. So you can talk to me about all these things. Fact of the matter is, there are more lineups than not where I prefer to have Emmanuel Quickly close a game than Cam Reddish. That is a fact. That is me. That is telling you exactly what it is. Okay, so that's one guy off the bench right there you're competing with this for. Then you know that Quentin Grimes is going to close many games. RJ Barrett. We can pretend that, oh, well, RJ's got to earn it the same way Cam's got to earn it. Get the fuck out of my face. Okay? Like, this front office gave him that extension. Should that mean that he never faces any repercussions for poor play? No. But the fundamental reality is he's probably going to close many basketball games. Okay,
He
that
should
is a
get less
fact.
minutes, but he shouldn't get again. He shouldn't be like demoted. There's a difference between
Yeah,
accountability and just like this isn't you fucking coaching your like Pee Wee league, all right, that you
this
do on
isn't college.
Saturdays, like
This isn't college where
right.
you can just like bench guys because you're mad at them and you're like 70 years old and they're 19. Okay, so no,
Mhm.
so you're talking. So now that's 2 starters at spots as well as Emmanuel Quickly, who he's competing with minutes for those extra kind of minutes for. Jalen Brunson, I don't even need to talk about that, right? Like, like where do you want these extra minutes? Oh well, play with him at the 4. You've got Randall there, who, for better or worse, is going to play a lot of minutes. You got Obi there, who is like clearly whatever you think about them, he's more of a priority to the front office than Cam is. Okay, these are just facts of the situation. Now, going back to Cam Reddish. Why did Cam Reddish leave Atlanta, even though he was playing a pretty decent amount of minutes? Because he wanted more minutes, he wanted more opportunity, he wanted to show what he had. Grimes comes back, Grimes takes a starting job. I think Cam is pissed off. I think Cam is pissed off. And I think if you go back and watch his minutes. Memphis game plays a lot, closes it, right? He's happy, wonderful, great. Go watch the next 3 games. Grimes starts playing more, Grimes is closing more. And I think you can watch Cam play. He's starting to take stupider shots. He is less locked in defensively. He's
Yeah, I
doing
don't think
all
that's
the
a coincidence.
he starts doing all of the stupid things that he was not doing, which culminated in that whatever the hell that 7 minutes was against Dallas. And I don't mean to single him out for that because I promise you, as I said about Mitch and I said about the entire team was terrible in that game. All of them were awful, awful, awful. So that's not like me singling him out. And I do kind of think it's shitty that he did get singled out effectively by Thibs, the way it happened. But like I'm telling you, go back and watch those 3 games. Detroit, whoever the fuck the one was before Dallas, and the Dallas game. He was not good in those games, and he was not good in a very, very specific way, in all the specific ways that Hawks fans saw last year when he wanted to get the fuck out. And we know another thing. Okay, here's the other thing we know. When has this front office simply said, like, when has it ever been revealed? By the way, got revealed to Stefan Bondi. I promise you that is coming from Cam Reddish's camp. 100,000 trillion% that is being leaked by Cam Reddish's camp. Because I'll tell you one thing I will bet my fucking life on. Stefan Bondi has no source within the Knicks organization. Not a single one. Nobody. Nada. Not happening. Not in this fucking lifetime. Not as long as James Owen owns this team. Not fucking happening. Okay? So, you get a report that, they're working with him to get a trade. This front office kept Frank through his 4th year when they probably knew that he wasn't going to stick around. Because why? Because they were like, well, they probably did a cost-benefit analysis. Like, they probably could have traded him for a second-round pick or something, But they're probably like, you know what? We need the depth. He's like the 11th dude here, right? He was situational all the time, right? Frank was situational. Come in for a defensive possession against Trae Young in the biggest moment of the fucking season. Like, so they kept him for that, right? They didn't trade DSJ until they could get a rotation upgrade, right? They upgraded from DSJ to get Derrick Rose. They didn't trade Kevin Knox until they thought, okay, we're going to upgrade this spot or we're going to take a shot on a talent. They took a shot on Cam Reddish in that trade, right? So my point being is, I don't think they would ever leak out there, we're looking to trade him. They would, it would get out there because that's the nature of the business, but it would never be leaked like this. It would never be open like this. This is coming from Cam's camp. I think the Knicks would be very happy. They wouldn't give a shit if Thibs didn't have him in the rotation. You know what I mean? They would just be like, all right, well, we still like Cam, so we're going to keep him. We keeping him around. So I think this is Cam.
Yeah, you never know. Like,
I think this is pretty obviously Cam being upset. And by the way, I'm not even blaming him. I'm not blaming him because you know what? It's his contract year.
no, go look for greener pastures.
Yeah,
Right.
He's trying to get his money. I'm cool with that. That's good. Good for him. I respect that. But don't tell me that this is some sign of There's plenty of shit that is going on with the Knicks that is more a sign of organizational dysfunction than what is going on with Cam Reddish. What happened with Cam Reddish is an example of a front office making a move and a coach resisting it. That's not what happened this season, though. This season, I think he gave Cam a legitimate shot, and I think he stopped giving him a shot because he was like, he saw these 3 games, and he's probably like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He just, and I can imagine behind the scenes, maybe Cam's starting to be, because he wants out. I get it. So he starts maybe being annoying in practice and blah, blah, blah. Like, I have no idea about the specifics of it, but I think it looks like it's ended in a very similar way that it ended in Atlanta. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't fool me again. So
And one other thing I'll add, like about this conversation, we talk about Tibbs misusing guys, and sometimes how he also stumbles into good roles for guys, right? Like that happened with Cam, right? Like he didn't put Cam in there. I mean, he yes, he's the coach, he made the lineups and all that, but like he wasn't actively looking for ways to find Cam minutes until injuries happened, and we're seeing that with Deuce now. Deuce has an opportunity. Now that vets are benched and Cam is out of the rotation, I don't think Tibbs was jumping and scraping the back of his playbook to look for ways to play Deuce, but like it's
real big
pretty,
playbook. Really
yeah,
big playbook.
yeah, exactly. It's an old dusty playbook. The pages are yellowed, the edges are frayed. But like now that Deuce is in there, you're seeing it's not how this is where I'm frustrated, but it's like that Alonzo Mourning meme where he shakes his head and then he's like, all right, I'll take it, where it's like this isn't how you want guys to be put into roles that work, but we're here now, right? Like Deuce is here in a role that works for him, just like Cam was. And I mean, I prefer Deuce to Cam. That much is clear. I think he's better at most things. I think it's fair to worry about Deuce's shooting. I'm not really worried about it. But whatever. If you want to worry about Deuce's shooting, totally get that. Has made not many threes this year at all. Or last year. So totally get it. But like you've stumbled into a rotation that elicits some level of like on-court cohesion between players you've acquired one way or another and what the coach is trying to do, right? Like again, the process is not smooth, but when the process isn't smooth, you got to take the baby steps and the wins when you can get it, right? Like benching Rose, like benching Fournier. Those things weren't guaranteed. Playing multi-guard lineups that aren't always tall wasn't guaranteed, right? And forget just Quickly and Brunson. We're talking 3-guard lineups now where Grimes is the small forward and IQ and Deuce, none of them are above 6'3", right? Like,
And yeah, it's also just like, okay, we cannot,
wait,
all of us.
real
Yeah,
quick. The,
yeah.
the last thing I just want to say is like it's totally fair to worry about process and front office coach alignment, all that shit. That's the main criticism I have of this front office, right? We talk about it all the time. You can't acquire guys without a plan to optimize them and use them the right way, or even just play them. But like we're here, like the guys they have drafted and are killing it in roles that are good for them, and it's causing us to fucking win. And the Cleveland game, I watched it late. I watched it today. It wasn't just a parade of missed threes like a lot of my timeline was saying. Sure, Donnie missed a lot of threes he would make, but he had a lot of his shots contested in ways that he doesn't normally get contested when he's playing with Darius Garland, all-star
You
point
can
guard.
feel defense. Like
Yes.
everybody's
Yes.
played basketball. There's times where I'm not a great shooter, by the way, but there are times where you can be in my face, but you're letting me dribble into a shot. You're letting me dribble into it. I know you're going to let me dribble into it, and I'm shooting that in rhythm. Even if you're right in my face, even if your hand is right in my face, I'm shooting that in rhythm. But there are times a different defender, you might get the same exact shot, but you're not getting it comfortably, and they're dictating to you to a certain extent. They're not just letting you dribble into a shot in a range in a spot that you
Right.
want.
They're taking away options and making you have to make decisions, and sometimes you're not comfortable with those decisions,
Yeah,
even if the outcome is the same.
and also like actually, I don't know if you saw this. RJ had a RJ's he did like the you know how they like post random you know media press conferences, right? So like after
Mm,
practice or whatever.
mm.
He had one. They asked him a question about Deuce, and he was like, "Oh man, Deuce is just one of those annoying ass guys that pick up that like picks you up the whole way, like the entire time." And it's like there is something to that. Like there is something to that annoying ass physicality and how that wears you down with the course of the game. It's the same thing with Grimes. Like Grimes, like Trae Young, he burned Grimes. Go watch the start of the game. He probably burned him like 4, 5, 6 times. But every single time, Grimes gets back into play. And he might not get a great contest. He might have gotten away with a foul or two. He might have stripped it. But you're going to have to work for it.
How many times have we talked about like, man, the Knicks when the Knicks do play defense, they don't get the same whistle that like Pat Beverly gets or whatever, right? Like or
Yeah.
like Marcus Smart. Well, it's because like if you set that tone as a defense, you change the baseline for the refs, right or wrong. And that's what Grimes and Deuce does. That's why they can get away with that physicality, and it changes it for the whole team. All of a sudden, maybe RJ and Randall can get away with the foul. Maybe Ihart can get away with the
Yeah.
foul. And
And
that's how the game works in the NBA.
yeah, and the thing is, like, you compare that, like, we talk about RJ super physical, Randall super physical. These guys, once you beat them once, they're out of the play, bro.
Right.
Like they're not getting back in there. You're not gonna see RJ make some fucking chase down strip block or something. Randall, once the man makes one rotation, that is his rotation for that possession. That is it. You're getting the one rotation. That's about it. He stared down somebody, whoever it was, Onyeka Okongwu shooting a three, and I promise you that was not him recognizing that Onyeka Okongwu is a poor shooter. That was just him being like, I am not making that rotation. That could be Ray fucking Allen over there in Game 7, and I'm chilling here right now. Not happening. But like the point is, those guys, there are plays they fuck up. They're go watch their
We've
possessions.
talked about
They're
it all the
yeah,
time. Like
but
like
they make the
Grimes
extra
and
efforts.
yeah, Grimes and Deuce, they're different great defenders than IQ. IQ actually is like will make like 11 consecutive correct decisions regardless of what happens. In addition to being quick and having long arms and not being afraid to mix it up. These guys are like IQ's gotten more strong, but like these guys are like football playing looking motherfuckers who they may not always make the right decision, but they're about to come in and shiv you and just like get back into play, and they're athletic enough. Like sometimes when Grimes moves laterally after he's beat, it looks like it's in fucking fast forward. It doesn't look real. He like these guys are insanely gifted, and it's not because they don't make mistakes on defense. It's because their motor is just like A+.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And like, and my whole point of this rant is like, you can be disappointed in the process more than me for Reddish. That's totally reasonable. But I think the end result for this team on the court, like, I don't think it's a coincidence what happened today and what happened versus Cleveland. I think this 9-man rotation is gonna fuck a lot of teams up. We're still not even shooting that well, even with Grimes shooting and Julius shooting. Like Deuce hasn't shot well. IQ hasn't really lit it up from three yet. RJ still shooting like dog shit from three. Like if you fueled this interior scoring with some shooting and now this kind of defense and physicality, like that's something. Cam improved and he was great, and he brought what he brought to the team that we didn't have on offense was like the ability to attack the rim off of closeouts. But that's the thing, like everybody, we already have all these dudes who do that, right? Like he's a big wing who does that, but like Brunson does that, RJ does that, Julius does that, Grimes does that, IQ does that. They all do that. Those are the ball handlers on this team. They all do that. Like that's nice, but we don't need it. What we need is defense and passing and rebounding.
Yeah, and I think like the thing I was gonna say is, like we can't have spent an entire summer and most at the end of last season being like, oh my god, the Knicks need to make it. They need to pick a direction. They need to play these young guys. They got to okay. And I get it. Tibbs is still here. Julius is still here. We can have a problem with all that stuff. Although, goddamn, if Julius played like that every night, I would never want to trade him. I don't care about like if you can make the dumbest fucking decisions, shoot like that every night, and we will work around it, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I, again, he's not going to shoot like that every night, so maybe trade him. But like the point is, like we can be pissed about all that shit, but like just this is the rotation right now, okay? This is the rotation. Jalen Brunson, 26. RJ Barrett, 22. Grimes, 22. Randall, 28. Mitchell Robinson, 24. Emmanuel Quickly, 23. Deuce McBride, 22. Obi Toppin, 24. Isaiah Hartenstein, 24. 6 of those guys are Knicks draft picks. Okay. 4 of them were picked by this regime. 2 of them were extended by this. The other 2 were extended by this regime. The 10th guy, situational guy, Jericho Sims, 24, was picked by this regime. Jalen Brunson, 26 in his prime, acquired by this front office. Pretty borderline all-star level point guard in his prime. Okay. Julius Randle, we don't need to go into the Randle thing. We all know how we feel about Randle on this pod. If you feel differently, you know that we don't agree with you probably. But like that's fine. We all have our thoughts on Randle. He's 28 years old. He's the oldest guy in your rotation. That's 24. Yes, he does like 17 things a game that I'm like, I honestly would. I don't even want. I don't know if I want to be in your brain or if I never want to understand what's going on in your brain. It's one or the other, but I'm not sure which one. But like young center, whatever. This is a young team, man. This is a young team, and they have opened up spots in the rotation for younger players that they have picked. They're starting a second-year player they drafted 25th overall. If the Memphis Grizzlies did this shit, we'd be looking at them being like, why can't the Knicks do that? They are doing it. And like, yes, they still have other shit to do, but like they are doing these things. So
And they're finally they're not only doing it, but they're doing it successfully with an identity now. Like we're seeing it happen. We're seeing it happen. It's paint buckets and physicality. Like I know we're only 2 games into this rotation, but like if that keeps up, then we have a young identity both on the court and in terms of like the assets that are on the court.
and it
That's what
helps
we
you figure out
want.
what you it and it helps you, it informs and can help you figure out, okay, if this is what our identity is and should be, who fits it on this roster, who fits it in this draft, who fits it if we're looking to trade and acquire somebody in the trade market. It informs your decision making in a way that prior to making this move with Deuce, and when they had the 10-man rotation, you had a Rose still playing, you had 4, like you had all these things going on. You're like, what are you doing? This is what the Knicks have done this year, okay? Yes, Julius Randle's still here, annoying. Thibs still here, very annoying, very, very annoying. Like, I can't tell you how annoying it is. But they have benched Derrick Rose, a thing that we'd have never expected before. They have benched Evan Fournier, who people were like, oh, well, they're not going to bench him because he's got an injury. They're not doing the thing, right? They're not doing the thing of, well, we have young players that could be as productive or as impactful. They're not benching those guys in lieu of some misguided attempt of, we're trying to up the trade value of our veterans before we they were like they're nope, these guys are out, we are playing these young dudes, we think they give us a better chance to win. And let's be clear, we know this front office and this coach are not in this to engage in some extended tanking maneuver, right? No, they are picking these guys. They're playing these guys now in the rotation, in the minutes they're going to get. And we are going to be upset on certain nights about the minutes and the rotations and all that shit because Tibbs is still the coach. But they're playing these guys because they think these guys give them the best chance to win basketball games today. So this is not a decision being made because they think they suck and they're trying to tank. No, this is a decision based on what they
This
think.
isn't charity for Deuce.
Yeah, this is them being like, we think what Deuce brings to the table is going to give us more as far as competing and winning games than what Cameron is. They
And
might be
Rose
wrong.
and
Yeah,
Fournier,
yeah,
whatever. If it's
yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
they adjust.
yeah.
That's how
If
you
it
fucking do it.
and if they're wrong and they trade Cam Reddish and Cam Reddish goes on somewhere and he develops and they will have fucked up. But you know what? Like what they have done is they have made some hard choices, and what we kill them for constantly is you're trying to balance too many things. You're trying to have the best of both worlds. You're trying to keep Tibbs happy. You're trying to develop your young guys, and in turn, you're not doing any of those things. You can't really levy that shit at them now. Like we can sit there and be like, well, this part of your process sucks, right? That's fair. We can sit there and be like I can watch a first half like today and be like, I don't know what Julius Randle being on fire, like I don't know how that helps us win basketball. Like I don't understand what that does for us. By the way, the Warriors just lost in maybe the dumbest way I think I've seen in a long
Who was they
time.
playing?
Utah. I can't believe I just watched that. Holy shit. That's unreal. Okay, anyway, they like what they're doing now is when you make a choice, right? When you're saying like when you've gone from accumulating all kinds of different shit and now you've got to like sift through, right? And pick, oh, okay, I like this thing. I want to keep this thing. This guy, I'm going to figure out how to get rid of him later. This thing, I'll fit. When you do that, you're going to piss some people off. You're going to piss some people off. Fans, outside observers, whatever, players on the team, maybe. But you know what? Once like you've pissed them off, that's part of the process. That is part of making hard choices. That's part of picking a direction. And like this to me, whatever you want to say about it, I wish they do that thing. I wish they're picking a direction. And that direction is these young dudes, these 6 young guys that we think help us the most out of the young dudes on our roster, these 6 guys plus Sims on nights when Hart and Mitch commit 15 fouls in the first 3 minutes of the game. Like these guys are the most equipped to help us win basketball games right now. And yes, is part of that because they think winning basketball games makes those guys look better and therefore more valuable as trade chips, all while getting minutes on the court. Yes, of course that's part of it. We know that's part of the strategy. But like I'm fine with that being part of their strategy because that actually makes fucking sense. If you're going to go about this whole thing of like, we're not going to tank, we want to be competitive, and we're going to trade for a star and all that shit, this is the way you do it. This is how you do it. You don't do it by, well, we're going to play Derrick Rose some charity 12, 13 minutes a night. And, we'll start Evan Fournier. And yeah, we'll figure out something with Cam Reddish. He'll play 10 minutes a night and Deuce can just hang out and we'll waste his second year because we don't really want to make that decision right now. We don't want to piss off Cam. We don't want to bench Rose and Fournier. No, they're making hard choices. Like, I bet you Evan Fournier is pissed. I bet you he's pissed.
On that point, real quick, like I need people to when we say like they are making these decisions, we truly mean they, right? Because what did we hear when Derrick Rose didn't play the first game? What did we hear? He was resting because it was a back-to-back. That was what we heard after. And then the next game, we heard Rose say, oh, he just wanted, Tibbs told him he wanted to get Deuce a look. So that means that this was almost certainly some sort of collective decision-making process, the kind that has likely not existed for a lot of this front office's tenure with Tibbs, for better and for worse, right? Like, usually you don't interfere with a coach's rotation, but you have to have some sort of vision. And what probably happened was Tibbs was on the hot seat, and they were like, "Yo, we need to talk about it. Here's the case for playing other guys." And just like, I don't think Tibbs needed much convincing to bench Fournier, but I did think he needed convincing to bench his child Derrick Rose. And the front office probably made a case, and he probably said, "All right, let's give it a whirl, see how the fuck it goes." And surprise, it's going fucking great. And yeah, you wish they were like on perfectly the same page, but this is a step forward in open-mindedness than, from what we've seen before, which is just like utter stupidity.
Yeah, and I think like look, I'll criticize Tibbs all the time, but people were like, "Oh, well, don't you think the front office like probably had a lot to do with this?" Probably, but if I'm gonna kill the man when he makes rotation decisions that suck ass, I'm also not. I have to give him credit then when like
Yeah, you have to credit him for being open minded.
yeah, like he has to get credit for that. You can't have it. Oh well, I'm only going to shit on him when he does bad things, and the good things are all the front office. No, he deserves credit for that. And we know, like, I think it's pretty safe to say that they might have been like, "Hey, if you don't do this, we think you're probably going to lose basketball games, and maybe your job and might be under a little scrutiny." Like, did that influence him? Probably to some extent, but like we know he's a stubborn motherfucker.
Yeah,
And
who was it who reported that like everybody was on notice?
okay, so I think so. I wanted to bring this up. Ian Begley reported that. Ian Begley. So this is a funny thing, right? Yesterday is um yesterday is what yesterday was the report that Obi or not Obi, that Cam is out of the rotation and Rose out of the rotation and that Deuce was taking their spot, right? I think it's very interesting that the day before Ian Begley had a report of like Leon Rose won't get rid of Tom Thibodeau easily because he's fiercely loyal to him. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think those things are tied together. I think, Leon puts out a little something out there. Oh yeah, I love you. You're the best. You're like, I'm fiercely loyal to you. By the way, you will be, you will be, you will be, you will be playing Deuce McBride, pal. Okay, like that's what's going to be happening here. Like, I don't think it's like I'm not. And look, I don't. Do I think he told Tom Thibodeau he has to play Deuce McBride? No, but I think he strongly hinted that that would be very nice of him to do, and he might look favorably on it. And hey, by the way, I'm fiercely loyal to you, pal. Like, I don't think those things aren't coincidences. They all come so closely together. Um, but yeah, they deserve credit. All of them deserve credit for that decision. And they also just like they deserve criticism for how the entire Cam Reddish thing has been handled from how he was acquired to how it seems to be ending. They deserve criticism for it. I also just feel like again, you can look at it. I guess I can see the argument of like this is organizational dysfunction. I also think that you can look at it as this is how you work to get on the same page. This is how you pick a direction. And within that decision, there are going to be things that are quote unquote collateral damage, right? Um and and it's like that's the reality. Like you can't I'm not gonna be upset about
And people need to also
that.
relax on the collateral damage thing because, like, we traded it first to get Cam, but it wasn't like, as far as firsts go, the 3 firsts, for example, that we got from the Thunder are superior to that first. That first is a bet that the Charlotte Hornets are going to be good at some point in the next 2.5 years. Otherwise, if they're not, it's just a second rounder. So it's not, it's not exactly a slam dunk here we're talking about. So like, if we'll see what happens with the Cam trade, but like, if he gets traded, right, they could just be like, fuck it, we're holding on, like you detailed earlier, like they've done many times before. If they do trade him, um, like it doesn't take much for them to recoup what they gave up. And that's not the be all end all to signify that this was good process. Like you said, it's messy. Yes, he should have gotten more playing time, et cetera, et cetera. But like, as far as collateral damage go, again, like if I told you this in the DM, like if we've heard the fucking Kings Twitter, all 24 of them or whatever, talking about like KZ. Well, how do you say his last? I don't even know how you say his last name.
Okpala.
KZ Okpala, and he didn't get like a fair bet, and now like he might get moved, and he's gonna be collateral damage. You wouldn't be like, that's not collateral damage. That's KZ Okpala being traded. Like that's just a random guy who's probably ranging from the 7th to 12th man on your team getting traded. And in the larger scheme of things, it's really a footnote. And if it's emblematic if your argument is like the Cam stuff is emblematic of larger dysfunction, like I just don't. I think there is some larger dysfunction. I don't think this is particularly emblematic of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth on it because I don't want to be dismissive of the idea of like this is a bad look for them. Like, I just can't get to the point of like people were fucking losing their minds over this.
I just think you can't, and this is directly tied to my being high on Deuce, but like I don't think you can give them credit for. I don't think you can take away credit for this being like a bad look, and then not give them even more credit for being like, oh, this kid we drafted is way fucking better for what we need, and the cream. What was it? The proof is in the pudding. I was about to say the cream is in the pudding. That's not a thing people say. It's
That's
too
that.
fucking late. I'm too old for this shit. So like, it's just weird to me that, and it's in all fairness, it's probably like a small sample thing. Like Deuce has played all these minutes for fucking 2 games, and I'm overly excited about it. Clearly, so uh, fair if you want Prez to wait a little bit, but know that I'm gonna come back in a week talking that cash shit when he's continued to do this and we continue to lock up on defense.
Um, I I have to say
And
something very
I
very
saw the end of the Jazz Warriors game. That shit was crazy.
yeah, very very crazy. And very important. The NBA season's heating up, and there's still so many unknown amazing endings to basketball games, like what just happened with the Warriors. Which, if you bet on the Warriors, sorry. If you bet on the Jazz, congrats. What I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, total rebounds, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Download the app now, sign up with code TBPN, place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Yeah, and I've posted this a few times. This is not the most updated stats. But like again, like the Deuce stuff is look, there's enough of a sample here with him and especially with Quickly, those two together, like they've been really, really good. And
The G
like
League sucks, but he was the best fucking guard in the entire G League, and he's had good impact stats in the NBA without shooting well. We saw this. We've literally just went through this with Quentin Grimes like
so
5 seconds ago. Like he was killing impact wise, and he couldn't hit shit.
we do this with Quickly every year.
Yeah,
We've
we
done
do
this
this
with
with
Quickly
quickly.
every fucking
I've done
year.
this with quickly, and you gotta talk me off the ledge every
Yeah,
fucking year.
yeah, all right, and I just want to read these off because I like these stats are pretty fucking crazy. Okay, this is including last year. Okay, so in 474 minutes with Emmanuel Quickly and Quentin Grimes on the floor, just with no Deuce McBride. So just those two without Deuce. Knicks have a net 5.7 net rating. They're giving up a defensive rating of 105.26. Okay. Uh, with all three on the floor, only 81 minutes going back to last year. Net 18.5 net rating, 93.25 defensive rating. Is that sustainable? No. Teams are shooting 28.1% from three on them. That's going to come up, but they're still going to be a really good defense. Sorry,
Especially
guys.
when they're playing with Mitch. Like,
Yeah, they're going to be a really good defense. Deuce and Quickly with no Quentin Grimes on the floor. 286 minutes, 20.5 net rating, 122 offensive rating, 101.45 defensive rating. Opponents are shooting 29.17% from three on them. That's not going to last. The Knicks are shooting 36.7% from three with those two on the floor together. That actually seems very reasonable and maybe fine. So like again, like the Deuce stuff is he's got to shoot better. He's got to be. I need him to look at the motherfucking rim sometimes when he runs a pick
there's
and
a
roll.
lot of time. There was one play versus the Cavs game where he had it on the right wing from three, and you could see him like probing, but the only person between him and the rim was Kevin Love, and he took a dribble in like he was gonna drive, and Kevin Love immediately got in position for like the worst charge ever. Because even Love knows like the only thing I can do here is try to take a charge from this young man. And Deuce just like no collision happened. He just passed the ball. But I'm like, that was the same thing you're getting. I was like, Deuce, this guy's like 40 years old. It's okay. You don't even gotta be a layup. You can shoot a floater. That's cool.